Welcome to Squatchin Holler.
In the mist where the trees lean low, Squatchin Holler's got a tale to show. Whispers creep like a creature's faint howl. Every shadow's got a secret to growl. Monsters rise where the stories are told. Squatchin Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say? In the holler, the truth just slips away. Huge footprints fade where the creek runs thin. A lantern sways, let the search begin. Rustling leaves, but there's no one near. Is it the wind or the beast you fear? Every echo's a question, every rustle's a clue. Squatchin Holler's got its eyes on you. Monsters rise where the stories are torn. Squatchin Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say?
And now, with your Squatchin Holler hosts, Roger Williams, Amanda Stowers, and Ashley Range. Remember, this podcast can be downloaded everywhere great podcasts are found. And now the show.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Welcome
Roger,
in, everybody.
how's it going?
Amanda, could be better, could be worse. What a week.
Yes, sir.
Seems like every day it's been something, and we're not going to get into a lot of that, but what we're going to do, just tell them your idea, and we'll go get that started off the bat here.
Yeah. So, as many of y'all know, us being live today is the anniversary of 9/11, on top of a whole lot of other really heavy things that have been happening in the world here in the last week or so. So, it just was put on my heart today to just share just a small moment of silence with everybody. Everybody here in the chat and on the show. So if y'all don't care, we're just gonna. I don't have a hat to tip, but we'll tip our hats there, Roger. I'll let you show off your hair. But yes, we'll take a quick moment of silence just to honor those who gave the most that day.
Right. All right. And
Thank you, everybody.
speaking of that, we got some bad news today from the Bigfoot world.
Yes.
You know, that was a shock, and I sent Amanda and Ashley the message, and they hadn't heard yet. And then Amanda starts telling us about when Dr. Meldrum came to the museum, and she's got some really cool stories. And you know, when I lost my dad and went through all that, it helps to tell stories, good stories, you know, about the people. And so you've got some great memories
Yeah.
about Dr. Meldrum. If you want to get into that, we'll show a few pictures, and then we'll get to our guest. He's waiting backstage, but Spencer, he don't care.
Yeah. So so yeah, like I said, we got the sad news of Dr. Meldrum's passing from his family earlier today, and like many here, I got the chance to meet Dr. Meldrum whenever he came to the museum. This is back in July of 2019 when he came there, and I had been busy the whole 2 days that he was there. I got to help him with his presentations and run some of the backstage stuff, very similar to what I do here. And so these are just a few pictures of some of the stuff that from when he was there, his table set up and him talking to the kids. That was one of my biggest things that I remember, getting to meet him, because you meet, as they say, meet your heroes. Meeting him actually was truly meeting somebody special. He not only did I get to meet somebody that I grew up not idolizing was but a larger than life character per se, from seeing him on TV and documentaries and everything like that, but I got to just meet him, got to know who Jeff was just as an individual. He was a character. He was so smart. Oh my gosh, was he so smart. He he was just he was a professor. That was what he was meant to do in life. The way he talked, the way he worded things and everything. And I was going to pull up one of the pictures of his book, but I didn't get it put up on here for you guys. So in his memory tonight, I'm going to share, I'm actually, other ear, I have on the earrings that he gave me whenever I got to meet him. And I'm really sad that, as you can see, that one of them is broken. I literally wore them out. I loved because they were an anatomically correct Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film. As you can see, it's very obviously female. It has the arm swing exactly right, not like the walk like an Egyptian walk. And you have the mid-tarsal break there, and something as small as an earring. So I was so fascinated with those, and I was going to buy them from him, and he wouldn't take no for an answer per se, and he just gave them to me. So I always kind of had that little thing when people would come in, it's like, "Oh, we love your earrings, thanks." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Dr. Meldrum gave them to me," and they're like, "Oh my god," for the people who knew. So
And
it was just kind of one of those little things.
what's cool about him, I remember starting to watch things about Bigfoot, and he was one of the first people I remember having a background that he was taking a risk, even talking about the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated that. And sometimes you forget how important people could be, to advance it on to the next level. And then
Mm-hmm.
and we're sadly reminded, like, who's going to carry the torch, so
Right.
who's going to take his place? Probably nobody, but
Well, he
it's
took over the mantle from Dr. Bindernagel and Dr. Grover Krantz before him, so there'll be somebody else
right.
for sure.
All right. So yeah, I'm glad that everybody's here. I'm glad to talk. To get to talk to individuals, because some of us have been talking on the phone and stuff about this past week, and just to get together, like on the porch, so to speak, and have a discussion. Y'all,
Mhm.
Spencer Jamison, I met him by accident, and we've become like brothers. And so he's one of those people. He does the research. He does multiple types of research, boots on the ground, any type you can think of. And if I have something I need to run by him, he's not scared to tell me, no, that's bull crap or whatever. And then I'm comfortable enough to say, well, I don't think it's bull crap. So, you need people to keep you grounded. And I think that's what we kind of do. So let's see if this thing works and we can bring him in here.
There he is.
Mr. Spencer.
For the applause thing.
Yeah, I had to use it. I was like, when am I going to get the chance to do this stuff? But this is what Misty. But
of course.
So welcome.
But thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on, Roger. Proud to be here. Before we get going, though, I do want to say I thought the moment of silence and acknowledgement of today's date and talking about Dr. Meldrum. Very, very good of y'all. And I wish more people would give that human aspect to it. Not everything has to be about Bigfoot. Not
Right.
Bigfoot may be the subject that has brought us together and that connects a lot of us, but not everything. We're all human beings. And this week has been a long week for a lot of reasons. And stuff is just getting crazier. And I think the more that you show the human side of you, I think the better it comes across. So kudos to you for doing that. I appreciated it.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
Amanda gets the credit for that. So that was her idea.
Of course she does. I knew it wasn't you.
But anyway,
somebody has to keep it real.
So the people that came along with us, that started with Woodwalkerz and came to Squatchin Holler, y'all know our relationship. The people that don't know, that'll be listening to this later, the new people here on Untold. Like I said, we kind of met by accident. I was in their comments on one show, and I was having fun laughing because everybody was just like so relaxed. And I'm like, man, these are like my family. And little did I know, a couple years later, here we are. We talk all the time, and we've been out to the same places, the meet and greets, and Spencer. What I've been impressed by Spencer is, like, a lot of people will get into this and they'll get head first into Bigfoot, and they'll have their mindset of how it is, how it, they'll read books, they'll do this or whatever, but they won't entertain other ideas or other possibilities. Spencer, I'm so proud of him. He will do that, and he has done that, and to watch his progression has helped me. And he laughs, but it's really, there's not a lot of people that will do that. If they start out a certain way, they will not change their ideas. So that's what I like about him. And then that just bleeds over to the rest of us. But I know when you started out this, you kind of accidentally found Bigfoot as far as like on YouTube, but the breakdown of the Patty film was so impressive that it hooked you in, kind of. You tell them about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's not that I wasn't open to the idea. It is just like a lot of other people. You will hear a lot of people doing what we do in the Bigfoot world, have done for years now. You come in contact with a lot of people that are like, BS, I've hunted my whole life, and if there was something out there, I would have seen it. I didn't have that harsh of an opinion about the subject because I really didn't have an opinion about the subject. I thought maybe it was possible, but I've always been kind of open-minded to all of that kind of stuff. But I had no experience in it. And I come from a background where, I grew up literally camping every weekend with my grandparents that raised me. I grew up camping with them every weekend. And then, in my teenage years, did a lot of backpacking and all that kind of stuff. We always fished. Got into hunting in my late teenage years and everything. And then I literally have been to taken and taught wilderness survival for years and years. And I've just spent a lot of time in the woods. I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything, but when I saw the MK Davis breakdown, which was completely a fluke, like it was completely a fluke that I even saw that video. My kids we homeschooled our kids ever since they were little, and they had been watching YouTube, and it was still playing in the background. And I think we were right at the end, and I just turned around and caught the PG film, and it was the MK Davis breakdown of it, and it was the one where he was talking about the scapula and trapezius muscles moving, and he was talking about the hematoba on the thigh. Whenever it stepped, it would bulge up.
Mhm.
And, I'm not brilliant or anything, but whenever I saw it, I was like, man, knowing what little bit I know about anatomy, I mean, that it makes sense. It looks accurate to me. And then I didn't think about it again until the next day. And the next day, homeschooling, and YouTube was doing that thing where if you just let it go and the video ends, it'll start putting up random videos. And I guess because that one had played the day before, at some point a Bigfoot outlaw video came up, and I got little kids running around, and I remember hearing in the background, "What in the hell is that?" As from the intro of the Bigfoot Outlaws. And I jerked around like, "What's that on TV?" Bigfoot Outlaws, which I had never heard of before. And then I watched that, and then it was kind of sitting in the back of my head, and I started watching a few more. And for the first month or so, I remember very much going, "There ain't no damn way. There's no way." And then it was getting close to hunting season, and I was going out anyway to set up my stand. And me and the guy I worked for, we were putting out food crops and everything, so we were tending to those. And I was out there one day, and I was putting this salt block, and well, it was a mineral block, and I started walking around through the woods, and I found some stuff that might have possibly been what they were talking about as far as structure.
Mhm.
And I remember standing there going, "There just ain't no way." And I don't know, a few months went by, and I'm going out in the woods more and more, looking into it. And as much as I might have found in those early months, I still didn't believe it until I got super lucky. I got super lucky. Like Greg says about getting lucky and getting involved with the right people, I hit the jackpot, and I got invited to a Bigfoot Outlaws outing. And that was my very first thing. And back then they were Bigfoot royalty.
Right.
And I got to go out and meet a bunch of people that knew then and still know now way more than I ever will. And they showed me a lot of stuff. And I got creeped out at a graveyard, and I thought people were messing with me, and they weren't. And I got to hear vocals, and had a bunch of trees pushed over, and we had stuff thrown at us, and just all kinds of stuff. And whenever I left from that, I was like, okay, they're real.
And when
I
you're
still
talking
don't
about
know.
vocals, I'm assuming you're talking about Bigfoot vocals and not like ghost in the graveyard talking to you.
Yeah, no, there was no ghost stuff with that particular thing. It was boogers. They were screaming. But that they weren't. The screaming happened before the graveyard. At the graveyard, the graveyard's one of the creepiest things that I've ever experienced. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, they did calls, and we got reply vocals from a ways
That's awesome.
away. But even that being my first time hearing it in person, you just something inside of you just instantly went, "That's not normal. That's
Mhm.
that's not an indigenous animal. That's not normal."
Yeah.
And I was just wow, and I've been hooked ever since.
If in my experience, what little I've done, if you hear something, you go, "What was that?" Usually it's but when you hear something that's for sure a booger, it's you feel it. It's something
Mhm.
inside you that just
There's a
it's terrifying.
visceral response
Mhm.
to it. You
Yeah,
can
definitely hits that something in your sixth sense somewhere that definitely tells you either
Yeah.
fight or flight, or at least it's how it does me.
Yeah, well, I mean, just not only the volume of it and the length of it, but but I say on my show all the time, audio doesn't do it justice. If you listen to stuff on YouTube channels and they play like Bigfoot calls, that's great to kind of familiarize yourself with what they sound like. But that does not hold a candle to what it's like in real life. And it's just whenever you hear that, everybody, I mean, I've been around plenty of people the first time that they experienced, One of my good friends, Bama, he won't mind me saying this.
I I was thinking exactly that.
He was standing right beside me the first time he heard one, and I have a recorder going because I'm trying to capture it because I want to look at it on the spectrograph. Whenever I started out, I ran everything through the spectrograph, but that's just how I was brought up in the Bigfoot world. But Bama's standing right beside me, and he used several expletives, which
I've
he
heard
doesn't
that.
normally, which he
Oh.
doesn't normally do. And he's going, "What the F is that? What is that? What is that?" And he thought we were messing with him.
Right.
And I'm telling him, you can hear me on the recording going, "Shh, I'm trying to record this." He's like, "But what the H is that?"
Yeah. And
Like you said, a visceral reaction.
it's right. And I have been guilty of the same thing and not even realize it until I show the video to somebody and Heather gets on to me. You got to quit cussing. I didn't even know what it was. But
Yeah.
so what's funny about that tape, and you can probably hear it on Sawdust Beast or Woodwalkerz probably in some of the episodes. What you can hear when you listen to that audio, it's not okay, we're hearing a booger or whatever. It's the reaction of the people. It's so real because Bama, former police officer in Nashville, I'm sure he doesn't get scared easily with his experience, but
Right.
something that scares him should be scaring you. So and I love Bama. He's you got to have different people with different talents, and if it's just one little thing, whether it's somebody that observes things or they can hear pitch perfect and tell you what some animal is or is not, but yeah, and I got made fun of. Spencer got me, I had the phone going and we got some really loud howls, but he's right. It's about 100 yards away. It hit us. I mean, it's crazy loud, but the audio I sent Spencer, he's like, you use the phone, like you got to get a recorder because it just doesn't do it justice at all. And we keep saying that, but y'all, if you ever get lucky enough to hear one, you're not gonna have to turn to somebody and say, "Is that a coyote? Is that a wolf?" It's not. So, and you'll be able to tell it.
Yeah.
But so I know I was kind of surprised. I was going through doing some research. I had a guest coming on when I first started this. And y'all know they keep forgetting that I came along late. They assume I know all these people. And so Spencer was on one of the documentaries. Y'all were in the LBL snow out for a few days. That was several years ago. And I watched that. I don't even know I don't remember if I even told you that I watched it, but I was impressed by the dedication of just going, backpacks and heading out. And then we get to go with y'all, and what can you tell people about the LBL? I mean, I know y'all found that trackway y'all found that you won't take credit was amazing to me, but I'll let you talk.
I found a possible trackway, but that's not to be confused with the Noble Reed trackway that they found. I was not there for that. I had been there the weekend previous to that, and in fact, just like 3 days before that, it was me, Anthony, and Larry Porch. We camped out there privately, and we did not have anything happen. And then that weekend, which was a Halloween weekend, and I got little kids, so I had to come home because they wanted to go trick-or-treating on Halloween. My wife's birthday is November 1st, so there was no way I could stay for that. I'd have gotten murdered. But they found a super impressive trackway. Speaking of Bama, because Bama was law enforcement for such a long time, whenever they found it, Bama was one of the first ones to go over there and kind of keep everybody back so he could lay eyes on it and kind of forensically evaluate it before other people got in there. And then they made a bunch of casts. And ironically, the very next year, myself and Debbie Jones and Shelly Reed, and there was another person there with us, but I can't remember who, in the same area, we found another trackway. But this time it was mostly baby tracks. They were like 7 inches long, but they were about 2 inches deep. And then there
That's
was
interesting.
some grown-up tracks. But no, I found a separate one at one of the meet and greets at LBL. And well, it
Did
wasn't
that
just me.
yeah, did that trackway happen to be anywhere near the same spot where Roger you found yours, or where the Noble tracks was found?
It
Go
was
ahead.
definitely it was exactly where the Reed Noble trackway was found. The one that I found with the, or not me, but the one that we found with the smaller tracks was exactly where the Reed Noble trackway was found, except for it was on the opposite side of the
Okay.
that little cove right there. It was on the opposite side.
And
And then
what's interesting is I'll point out that the time of year he's talking about, that's
Mhm.
3 trackways found
yeah,
within 3 weeks of each other, a year
and
later or 3 years later.
And whenever you asked about LBL, my immediate response is just like Daniel Boone. I know Daniel Boone and I know LBL well enough to say that the thing I learned the most from them is that, number one, the stuff is there, absolutely. But number two, it's the right time of year. The right time of year, in my opinion, is important for getting the responses to the degree where it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely something, and finding tracks and, you know, seeing eye shine, getting stuff thrown at you, all that kind of stuff. The right time of year is critical for that. So I've been to LBL at different seasons of the year, and I'll just tell everybody on here because I don't care. Well, I don't. Late September to early December is the time to be at LBL. That's it, you got to know where to go and you got to know what to do, but that's the time to be at LBL. There seems to be more activity then
And
than other times of the year.
and also be careful, don't just go by yourself and walk.
Mm-mm.
Don't, because I don't know if you felt this, Spencer, but I've driven through there. We stayed all night a couple months back driving around. It's on July 4th. And there are certain areas that have that creepy feels, like you like to say, and there's some that don't have it. And I pulled in roads and backed out. Like, I'm not going in there. So
I can't remember if I've
It-
ever told you or not, Roger, but sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. But even I've never actually been in the LBL, but I've drove, past it, on the interstate, see
Yeah.
the signs for it and everything. And even way before I, started learning about it for, the Bigfoot reasons, there's just something about it, like driving about it. It was that, I don't know, you call it intuition or something. I was just like that ooky feeling. I'm just like, I don't want to go in
I,
there.
if you're
So
sensitive at all, you'll feel it.
I am. So I was like, I've always had that thing. So then once I really started learning all this stuff about the LBL, I'm like, that
That's
checks out.
why
Okay.
I will be careful though, because in my opinion, therein lies a trap. You cannot, if you look at the stuff, like if you take the Beast of LBL, for example,
Mhm.
if you type in the Beast of LBL on YouTube, I've heard the story firsthand from the man that was there.
Mhm.
That would be Mr. Kumbo Baker. If you type in the Beast of LBL, you get so many different versions. And all I'm saying is just like any subject, it's not just Bigfoot or cryptids, it's any subject. Be
Yeah.
careful of the source material. And I think a lot of it has led to this overall opinion. I see people making comments all the time that, like, no way, LBL terrifies me. LBL, as many national parks as I've been to and state parks and everything, LBL is absolutely one of my favorites.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. I've been there in the backwoods part of it. I've been there at the campgrounds. I'm still here. Never got got. And we did stupid stuff like literally calling for boogers, and so nothing happened. it's a beautiful place. I do think anytime you're in nature, you need to be careful. Well, hell, anytime nowadays in the whole world, you need to be careful.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean,
That's why I like to go places in the wintertime, because of the snake
yeah,
deal.
Yeah, snakes and
I
spiders are less prevalent for sure.
ticks and chiggers, snakes, ticks,
Oh
and
my
chiggers.
God.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're preaching there, sir.
Man, we won't talk about chiggers. Phew, I hate them things. I don't know if it's my blood type or what it is. They love me and I hate them.
I'm in the
Uh,
same boat. I can't stand them things.
And, we've had, what limited time I've been there, we've had things happen, some things I can't explain. And that bugs me more than the things I can explain. And, when we had that, whatever that was, walk behind our tent, the people at the fire heard it. I don't know if you were at the fire. I heard people getting
I
out the
don't know.
thermals and stuff, but that was absolutely terrifying to me. And but I still go back because it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And but I had gone up because y'all were having a meet and greet, and y'all included us. And I'm like, I want to go see what's going on up here. And I got lucky. Nobody knew I was going. I found the tracks in the same places, the Reed Noble Trackway, same place that you're talking about. And it was scary. And you always have armchair quarterbacks, well, you should have done this. You should have casted this. When you're out there by yourself and you got fresh
Yes.
18-inch tracks and 14-inch tracks, and the kids, I say kids running around, and it hadn't rained in 2 months, and there are fresh tracks. It started raining at midnight, so they're still close by, probably. So
Well, I shouldn't say I was never. I never changed my opinion about how I conducted myself, like going out by myself. I used to have an area around here where I live that's a wildlife management area. And one of my best friends, Anthony Kelly, he and we started combing that area, and we, sure enough, found TPs, X's, structures. Eventually, we found tracks. We got some vocalizations from there. And that is the very first time that I started gifting apples and like candy bars. And I would go out there a couple times a week. And most of the time, 90% of the time, it was by myself. And about the third month or the fourth month of doing that, I'm not sure what other people mean by whenever you're talking about getting zapped with infrasound. If that's what it was, I'm not saying that's what it was, but that's the very first time when that happened, when I got the overwhelming, just uncontrollable fear, like discombobulated, confused, got to get out of there. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know where I was at. I just all of a sudden got a fog, and I didn't know where I was, what I was doing. I knew that my vehicle was downhill, and I was out there probably about a mile, or close to it anyway. I don't really accurately remember, but as I started walking downhill, that walk turned into kind of a gallop, and I fell a couple times, and then it was like sheer panic, like running down this mountainside through the woods and bouncing off trees and stuff. I fell a couple times, but as I got within about 100 yards or so of my truck, it kind of calmed down. I kind of came back to myself, but I still got my butt out of there. And after that, I had a very distinct impression that I'm messing with something that I don't know exactly how it operates or what it does. I'm not saying to be scared of them. I'm not trying to frighten anybody. But I really had a very, very uneasy feeling about that whole thing, because it came over me so quick I remember going up there and putting out apples. And then I went further to check on some of the other structures to see if they had changed, because people don't know it, or structures will change throughout the year. They'll get moved around. And I was going to check some of the other ones, and that's whenever it happened. And ever since then, I'm very animate about, I'll go out by myself, like on my own land and everything, because where I moved to, I think that they moved through here, but I definitely don't think they live here or anything. But going into areas where I know that they're at, I don't really feel comfortable going out by myself anymore. Something about that changed me.
Yeah. And having met people through Spencer and Misty and Greg and other people, it's nice to have, like, I had something happen last year, and Spencer, as soon as I had service, I'm like, hey, have you ever had a pressure change in your ears, but you're sitting still? And he started telling me about similar situations. And then Mary Fabian in Pennsylvania, I contacted her. I said, hey, have you ever heard of this? And it just makes you feel better. And then you got Native Tracker here. We're not supposed to say that, little people. But I have heard that too. When you get that fog or that buzz going on, I've heard that from some of our Native American friends, that there's something else could be going on. I don't know. Y'all, it's bad enough to have Bigfoot and now Dogman, and we have friends that see these things that, you take what they say to the bank. That's the thing. You get to know people. I know Spencer is not Spencer's not going to lie to me. We'll joke around and cut up, but when it's time to discuss things that have happened, ideas, throw stuff against the wall, see if it sticks, this couldn't be that. I appreciate that friendship. But what is scary is when you have people like that, and then they come to you and say, listen to this, or look at this, or I saw this. Mark Green, who will be on next week. We know what he said he saw a few weeks ago. That terrifies me, and we'll talk about that later. But when you get a call from Mark Green is one of the most honest men on this planet.
Absolutely.
And when he tells you he saw something, he saw it.
And just rational, down to earth. I mean, not prone to, not hair on fire, not going out on a limb in any way, shape, or form. When someone like that says, hey, this is what I saw, it's like, okay, that's what you saw. I don't want to think about it, but that's what you saw. Okay.
And Spencer's gotten a lot. I don't know how many people you've interviewed. What gave you the idea to start your show? I mean, I know why I started this. I was scared to death, but I wanted to learn more. How did Woodwalkerz come about?
Oh my Lord, you just had to go there, didn't
Well,
you?
honestly, I'd like to know, because I don't know.
No,
I don't either.
Oh, you don't, huh?
No.
Okay.
No.
So the abridged version is, so like I said, my first thing was with Bigfoot Outlaws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Eric Tipton, Kane Michael, Mark Newville, Larry Porch, Debbie Jones, Shelley Reed, they were all there. And I was the new guy. And I wasn't even a guy. I was just a person that everybody was evaluating and interrogating to see if they would, humor me being there. But anyway, I became quick friends with a lot of them. And so Mark and Larry had a show. There still is episodes, more like documentaries now, Sawdust Beast. And it was a pretty popular show. Not that long ago, and still is to this day. It's just the format has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, whenever it was changing to the point where they just didn't want to have the regular weekly show, I was one of their guests / moderator / their friend. I would go out with them and everything. And I started documenting stuff around here in my area and doing Facebook Lives. And I think that went on for about 3 months or 4 months. And everybody was like, I think it was only because it's not that anybody enjoyed seeing or hearing me. It's that they missed Mark and Larry, and I was filling in the void a little bit. But then I went to meet and greet. It was actually Bama's birthday party, I think, if memory serves me correctly. And I met Misty, and she slurped down a taco salad like the fly. And I was like, oh yeah, just you gotta come on with me because everybody's gonna love this. But no, we had camaraderie, and I was already kicking around the idea of actually doing a regular YouTube show. And in my mind, it was just to kind of fill in the blank
Right.
for Mark and Larry, because at that point they were doing a show like once a month. So I was like, hey, I'll fill in some stuff. And even like not really, I don't like being the center of attention, and I don't like doing interviews. But Roger asked, and Roger's one of my best friends, so here I am. But it was supposed to be about everybody else, and it was supposed to be about barbecue and bushcraft and backpacking as well as Bigfoot, because I'm a firm proponent of let's talk about more than just Bigfoot. But
Right.
anyway, whenever Squirrel and I got to going, hey, it took off, and we started getting some guests, and we put them out there. And then Greg, the other part of the third musketeer of Woodwalkerz, Greg, I tried to find Greg for years because I heard a couple interviews, but there were no details about who he was. And finally, friend of a friend got him on Sawdust Beast, and I was like, holy cow, that's the guy, I want to talk to him. And I very rudely just interjected myself, and I was like, you don't know it, but I really got a lot of questions for you. And he and I started talking, and kind of hit it off. And then we had him on the show. I definitely wanted him on the show. And but we had such a good time. And House has so much information that it was just natural to be like, hey, please do this with us, and put your ear and your thoughts in there also. So that's how that started. And now it's completely out of control, and everything is out of my hands, and they just do whatever they want to do behind the scenes.
Yeah, they started their own channel, Night Owls.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I encourage them to do that.
And what's funny about y'all three is perfect. Because Spencer and Misty go at it like brother and sister, and then Greg sits there and kind of interjects the humor. But the thing is, if you get all of them, like Spencer's word is calm down and talking about this stuff, Greg, it's not that Greg will tell you he's not a researcher. He has to be careful going to his truck and to the door, so they're theirs, not all the time, but
whenever he says stuff like that, I think people have become so desensitized that they don't truly appreciate. If you ask anybody that's been to like the man cave, it's a very real thing. The boogers are there, and they're there more often than they're not. And they're there. And yes, he's gotten used to, what does he say? He says he's always trying to coexist with them, and like House, if you ask him, he doesn't do anything like put out cameras or try to record them, or he doesn't do calls or knock on trees or anything. He's not trying to excite them or instigate them, because he's literally living with them. Right. And it's important to make that distinction. Whenever people see you on YouTube and they just hear you talking about a fantastical subject that they have no experience in, this stuff, it sounds so outlandish that we treat it real casually. We're like, oh, the boogers did this, or I found that. And they're like, there's no way this I can promise you, you don't hear us saying we ran into a booger every other month. That you don't hear us saying that. But what we do say, I promise you, comes from real world experience, has happened, and we don't take the subject unseriously. We take ourselves, we don't treat ourselves seriously. We treat the subject very seriously.
Yep. And I had a comment, like somebody commented on Reddit on there was a thread, you know, and Squatchin Holler was brought up, and they're like, I have a hard time believing anybody that's so relaxed about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, just because you sound relaxed, you can listen to some of the audio that I'm involved in, and Spencer will tell you right quick, I'm
Yes.
running like crazy inside, but I'm trying to stay
There-
calm.
Mhm.
So
There's stuff. If you go back and listen to Greg, get Greg to tell the motorcycle thing, you can literally see the PTSD.
right.
That's not a good measuring tool to say, hey, this person is telling this story very calm. And you know, like on the woo thing, and I don't mean that as a pejorative, but on the woo thing, I used to be completely like, there is no way. Like it's far. I've come far enough accepting that boogers are real, and now we get into this other stuff. I'm like, there's just no way I'm not accepting this. There has to be a reasoning behind this that people are overlooking. Then I've experienced some of it, and now I'm like, man, I don't know what to think. But you cannot gauge someone unless you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes and been where they've been and gone through what they've gone through. You cannot watch a YouTube video about somebody and make an accredited decision on this person's full of it or this person is not. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but it's very real.
And
Right.
and some people, now I'm sure Amanda deals with this a lot too. Some people have dealt with it in a way to where they can talk about. Some people cannot talk about it. You don't hear those stories because they can't talk about it. You know those people. I know those people. And then you got people like us that have been through some things that was pretty horrible at the time, pretty scary. Didn't know if you're going to make it out of the woods with your kids because whatever's going on. And then you accept it and deal with it. And you're like, I've got to tell this. It's just when I was filming the footprints, I was scared to death. My instinct was to run back to the truck. But I'm like, no, if I'm going to do this, I need to hang in there and get this documented as well as I can. Now, did I sound calm? Larry Porch told me when we had the audio of the one throwing boulders and picking up trees and slapping other trees with it and the baby screaming in the background and all that. He said, they were talking about how calm I was, but he said, but you got really chatty. I'm like, I was narrating while it was going on and didn't realize it. I was so nervous, but
it's amazing what your brain does in those moments to try to process through all of that.
And try to deal with it. So,
well, they're trying to keep you calm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, like, you know, when we got the first rock ever thrown at us, and I'm thinking what we need to do. You thinking about all the stuff about bears and how they, you know, are predatory responses. You don't want to run. Well, Peyton and Spencer and Peyton's become my son. They've become good friends. You know how he is, and he's quiet for a little bit, and he says, are we just going to ignore the fact that we just had a rock thrown at us? Like, no, I'm trying to figure out the best, the next step that we need to do. So, and Spencer, they have great guests.
Thank you.
There was a guy on a couple of weeks ago that I was in and out, but I was just drawn. And when I got home, we'd come from church, and I put it on the big screen, and it was so intense. I was watching the background because he's had some really, really, and some people say out there experiences. 5 years ago, I would have said that, but now,
yeah,
there's some of the things we've experienced ourselves. Now, look, I had somebody ask me about, you know, Bigfoot and UFOs and all that. You know, they try to get you to, you know, what's your opinion? Because all of this, you know, I say this all the time. All I know is what's happened to me. I trust people to tell me the truth. But then when you ask me to speculate, I mean, what am I doing? I'm just throwing something out there. But then they'll get kind of mad because you don't have an opinion on that. I can't yet, right? I've seen a UFO and I've seen Bigfoot a couple of times, but they were separate. Now, if I ever see them together, Spencer, you'll get the call. You and Peyton, Greg, on three-way, whatever. But
somebody better get a phone call.
So yeah, yeah. But that's the way my mindset is. And Spencer, you have to be a critic. You have to. I'm one of the biggest critics, even though I know they exist, because I'm evaluating the guest, right? When you first talk to them. And then there's things that you pick up on, little details, little things that you've experienced.
That's one of the main things, and that's an advantage that comes to you after you've actually experienced some of the stuff yourself, and you've been around other people that you've known them for a while, and you get to trust them. And then you start. So the way it works in my mind is, I know everything that I've experienced. There's probably 30% of it where I'm not sure what to make of it. What the stuff that I've experienced, I'm not sure what to make of it. So the stuff that I'm pretty sure of, that's like my bank. That's my ground platform of my information that I go off of. Then the next level is the people that I've been around for a long time, and I trust them. I know them. I've been there with them. I've seen them in person, and I trust them. Whenever they tell me stuff, that goes on the next level. I haven't experienced it, but that's rolling around up there, and I'm keeping all of this in mind. Then the next level is me just hearing random people that I don't really know, but they say certain things, and I'm like, okay, I know what they're talking about there. I know that part is real. And if they say 2 or 3 of those things where I'm like, okay, I know that's right, then I'm listening to that person. Now, if they go off and say some other stuff that's getting way out in the wild blue yonder, and I'm like, I ain't never seen none of that shit, and I've been around this stuff for a while, then I still evaluate it. But you have to have that skepticism, not just for other people, but for yourself too. You have to constantly evaluate what you're thinking of it.
Yeah, and sometimes there are red flags. I won't get into it, but things that I thought were red flags 5 years ago are now not so much. I texted one of my early guests, and I was like, I don't know if you know this or not, but when we talked, I wasn't ready for that information. Now I'm ready for it. I understand what you were saying. I treated them with respect because I try to have an open mind, but I was not on board with what this person was saying. Now, with the experiences we've had, I just don't know anymore. I can't connect it. I'm not going to say, okay, we do know that we've had strange things happen, and there were quartz laying all around. We know there's a waterfall close by or running water. Some of this stuff seems to connect the area and certain things. I don't know, so to speak, when I saw the face through the thermal and then the orb comes along. I don't know that they were connected. Some people will tell you they are because they've had more experience with it. But I feel like that certain area that we were in, where it's at, Spencer, is like almost like a conduit or something where.
Well, as we've gone along, and not just me, but a bunch of other people, I think you have to come to the realization, number one, you don't really know what's going on. I mean, you've got ideas, and you might have heard about a certain location, so you go there and you do a couple things and you hope to get a result, but there is no expert in this field, right? And as you go along, you eventually, I think, have to get to the point where you're like, is it me? Is it the individual? Is it what you're doing? Is it the location? Is it a combination of all of the things? Mm-hmm. And there's certain stuff. if you go, okay, it's the location. If we start at the end, if you go, okay, it's the location, well, like that. Is it quartz? Is it caverns? Is it aquifers? Is it ley lines? I've looked into all of it. Geomagnetic fields, all of it. If you go, okay, it's the location, how do you explain people going there and nothing happening? Then again, you have people that go there and they're like, I saw a UFO and a booger and a ghost all in one weekend. You have other people saying that that location is really active. Are you just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, this person's full of it because they saw Bigfoot, a UFO, and a ghost all at the same time? Or is it the location? Then you have other people that are in areas that you've never heard of before, and they tell the most fascinating story, and you're like, man, a lot of the stuff that they said is spot on. It's just right. You know, they probably did experience what they're talking about, but that location's not known for it. It doesn't match any of the criteria. You know, go look at the accounts of like boogers in New Mexico or like Utah, where there is a lack of like ley lines, geomagnetic fields, caverns, aquifers, all this kind of stuff. There are people talking about experiencing them in like desert regions, you know, and close to the Mexico border. It's, how do you explain this? Everything is so anomalous about this thing. It could be anything. Is it the person? Is it the place? Is it a combination of things? Was it, you know, was the person struck by lightning? Did that change their negative ion amount? Is it their blood type? Or were they born into a family of psychics or very sensitive people? It could go any which way. There are no experts in all of these arbitrary things about going, oh, it's got to be caverns or ley lines, or it's got to be the quartz coming out of the ground.
Yep.
Exactly. It could be any of that.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I think I sent y'all a message, and I probably sent Spencer. I didn't know this about quartz. So when I started realizing that some of that was connected with some of these places. I read one thing about quartz. Now we're talking about weird stuff, right? It's weird because we don't know about it. Maybe that's why I love talking to our Native American friends, because we just talked about the lore, had a comment there. There's forgotten knowledge that we don't know about. That sure. I love I can call up Kenny or Flat Rock or some of those guys, and hey, have you heard about this? Well, so Kenny, I'm like, the quartz. I was showing him the cold fire, and he was saying most medicine bags that they carry have quartz in it. And then I read where quartz is neither a solid or a liquid, and it stores energy, and under pressure, it releases energy. Now, I sit back like, oh my God, how is that possible? I'm not a scientist, of course. And this may be something that people already know. We're getting, Misty said, energy, Larry Bear, frequencies. Yep. The more you dig into this, the more that stuff comes into play. This feelings that you get, that creepy feels that you talk about, is that a frequency? I stood beside at the conference we went to last month. A lady had a quartz bowl. It was that big. It was big around. And I was standing beside it. My left side was near it. I'm like, what is that? She said, it's made out of quartz. And she took and started rubbing this rock around the top of it. And the left side of my body started vibrating. And I'm looking, and I stick my hand down in it. I don't know if I was supposed to or not, but she kept going. I stuck my hand down in that bowl, and it lit me up. And I'm like, oh, wow. I get back to the table, and I'm telling Heather, oh my God. And Randy Brooks was standing there. He can testify to that. And your nerves go like to the center of your body or whatever. Yeah. What it was, I don't know, but it made me feel weird enough that maybe some of these frequencies and infrasound and ultrasound and all that stuff can mess with you,
Well, that's what you get for putting your hand somewhere that you weren't.
You're like a little kid. I was looking for cookies.
Bobby Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands. Let me just stick it in the magic bowl.
Yeah.
But
you know me too well.
Oh,
goodness.
it sounds like the bowl you're describing. There's a lot of people out there who do the sound healing in like a lot of alternative health, naturopath, that kind of stuff. So yeah, they do that with the bowl and stuff like that over people in different areas and things. So they're talking about frequencies and stuff like that in that aspect. It definitely connects with a lot of the frequencies and stuff like that people attribute to some of the more woo aspects in the Bigfoot and cryptid worlds. I know I've seen, at least on documentaries and podcasts and stuff like that, people who have been healed of something bad wrong with them after coming into contact with Sasquatch or vice versa. So I don't know, it's just one of those weird things that my brain thinks of as you're talking about that stuff.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing. That's why we talk about this stuff, because ideas may pop. We might talk about it 5 times and not trigger something. It's just like 10 years ago, if I'd have watched this documentary, it was on vision and light waves, and they started talking about this butterfly. Some of y'all have heard me talk about this, but they were talking about this butterfly that looks green to us. It has no pigmentation whatsoever. But this design, the God made this butterfly, and the design on this butterfly is the exact length apart as the green wave.
Oh, wow.
So it appears green to us. So I stopped it. I'm like, hold up. If that's possible, and I start, Googling or whatever, then could we make a material that could do that? And it's called it's called meta material. Now, here's my question. If that butterfly can have that perfect design to appear green because it reflects only green light, what if you know what the waves are of infrared or other, and it only reflects that? We couldn't see it, right? Now, I'm not saying Bigfoot is reflecting infrared light. I'm just saying, if you find something in nature, that's what discussions, it leads you down this rabbit hole. So we actually have metamaterials that, they use as camouflage. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what kind of my brain gets into.
And that's why these kind of conversations are so important. So that way you can make your brain think, because I don't know what words I'm trying to say here, but
stimulate your brain.
Thank you. Stimulate your noggin.
If Spencer's speechless, I've never seen him speechless.
I think it's important to keep an open mind on the whole thing and to listen to like that. I've never heard of that butterfly. Okay. And while you were talking, my brain was thinking about the possibility of the hair, like where the hair might not have pigmentation, or it might be clear, and maybe it's redirecting light so that it looks like it's surrounding. And then you could go into the area of, hey, if they can produce infrasound, is it possible that they are just messing with your brain while you're right there and scrambling the signal, and you can't see them because you will hear a lot of people talk about, hey, you have to see them out of your peripheral, or you have to see them at an angle. You can't see them if they're right there in front of you unless they want you to see them. There are people talking about, hey, I could see it with the camera or through my phone, or I could see it with the thermal, but whenever I would pull the thermal down and shine a flashlight, there was nothing there. There's some weird mystery to all of this that I do not understand. I've seen them drain batteries, and I know I say that like it's a unequivocal fact, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is for me. The stuff that needed to be charged was 100% charged. The stuff that needed to have batteries put in it, had brand new batteries, We're out in the middle of Daniel Boone Forest. It wasn't just me. It was 5 other people besides me, and all of us had battery drainage at the same time. And then go back to camp, and an hour and a half after you're back at camp, batteries come back on, fully charged.
I'm gonna write that down because I'm gonna ask Google some questions later.
I've seen it happen. I can't explain it,
Right.
but I've seen it happen. On that exact same camp out where that happened, was the first time, thanks to my friend Chris Reinhardt, I took a RF meter. We did a call, got a response. My meter, we were in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest. There is no microwave. There's no EMF out there. I mean, I took base readings whenever we got there. The RF part, radio frequency part, went to such a high degree that it set off an alarm on the meter. Whenever that thing screamed back, it went all the way up. Now, that was a brand new meter, and I wasn't familiar with it. It was my first time ever using it, so I didn't really know what to make of it. But it went off on alarm. It went so high. What is that? What's going on? Is it messing with something that we don't understand? I think so.
And is it dangerous for us? Amanda, have you ever had anybody come in the museum and talk about experiencing Bigfoot or whatever and think that it may have made them sick? Because we've had a lot of people get sick.
Yes, actually, I have. I actually talked to a guy, I think it was this past week or within the last 2 weeks, who was zapped, and it made him violently sick for a couple of days.
We've had people leave meet and greets. Well, I wasn't there for one of them, but several people got sick. And so William Robinson asked this question. It's a good question. Rusty, Dr. Rusty. How would Spencer and or Roger and Amanda compare LBL to Holland? I'll let you start that, Spencer.
I would say that they're different, but they're the same thing in the sense that there's a different feel to LBL, because it's such a big area. There's a lot of places where people go to LBL all the time, never have anything happen to them. People go to LBL and just love hiking around there, and it's beautiful, and it is. Holland's is a very remote location, and well, I mean, since I'm talking to Rusty and Rusty knows me and I know him, Holland's, the boogers are there. It's just a matter of, are you there at the right time when they're there? And if you are, they're pretty much right on top of you, because they have that advantage where they can get that close to you and just watch you and everything. Whether or not they let themselves be known to you is a different thing. But I would say it's the exact same thing, just like LBL. If you know where to go and you know the right times of year, it's the propensity to have something happen is just as high. Daniel Boone is just like that. There are parts of Cherokee National Forest that are just like that. And Alabama, the whole state of Alabama is like that, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm coming to realize that I've only ever traveled through Alabama, but the amount of reports that come out of Alabama is just mind-boggling.
Alabama and certain spots in North Georgia are hugely active. Like, I cannot stress that enough. The boogers are just there. They're everywhere.
Everywhere, yes.
And the reports that are not reported in Alabama are even more impressive. And some of you know a little bit about that. Hopefully there's an ongoing story maybe we can share later, but they'll probably share it on Woodwalkerz, and it's impressive. But anyway, we have to honor people's wishes and honor protocol. Like, you know, Amanda goes through it all the time. Like, I'm sure they tell you a story about, don't tell my name, don't tell my story.
All the time. I have so many that I I can't share just out of respect for that person. And I imagine you boys get the same thing too. People ask they finally feel comfortable to share something, and they ask you not to.
Yeah.
And somebody else, who is it? Miss Dorothy here. She keeps bringing up about different frequencies and stuff, like you can't wear a watch. I actually have the thing like where I can't get too close to like a regular radio with the radio antenna, because it messes up the signal. Like,
Staticky.
Amanda,
Yeah.
get away from the
Oh, that's
radio.
weird.
Yeah, get away from the radio. You make it all, so. Anyway, I don't have that issue anymore because I use one of these now for my radio. But
And Wendell's making fun of me, but he's correct. I don't know if I'll ever go back to Holland's because of what I saw in the camera. I showed the AI picture or whatever. I was the only one that saw it, and the orb came along, right? So that was part of the whole experience. But I also feel that Holland's, I've got a feeling it's not good. I don't know. There's something, the energy we talk about, it's a different feel than LBL. That I don't know whether it's all the things that are going on. We talked about the ley lines and the quartz from 33rd parallel, whatever might be going on there. And then you have the LBL, and like Spencer said, it's so big that there are areas you can get out of the area pretty quick. But there are some areas that kind of feel like Holland's, but it's different. I don't know if it's the type of energy or it's the water on both sides of you and the negative ions. I don't know. I do know I'm sensitive to a few things, but it's just different. And I think we've been lucky at Holland's, because there's some people that haven't been lucky at Holland's. If y'all look that up, the guy that was torn apart below the tree stand. So I don't want to end up like that. Wendell.
According to reports.
According to reports.
Sometimes it's good to have a healthy dose of caution in certain things. So nothing wrong with that.
If you're not cautious about this, and I say this very seriously for everybody that will ever see this video, if you treat this subject as a joke, you're going to have a really, really sharp wake up moment at some point. If you keep playing with fire, you're going to get burnt.
Yep.
If you do not treat this seriously, I mean, I know we're on here laughing and cutting up and everything. If you don't treat this subject serious and you don't have respect for it, it's going to bite you in the tail. I can promise you on that.
I'm not ashamed.
Absolutely.
I'm not ashamed. I'll tell y'all this. Spencer got a phone call from me after midnight in LBL, and I was sobbing. That was unreal. It was too much for my brain. I saw the white wolf. It's the biggest dog I've ever seen in my life. It didn't move like it was supposed to. And I'm not saying it was a dog, man, because it was a monster wolf. And I've seen the tracks there. If y'all know what an 8-inch or 8 skillet, what do you call it? Well, I use for cornbread, the cast iron. If you know how big that is, and of course it was in the mud, but that's a very large canine track, and it had an appendage on it that I don't know what it was. Anyway, I saw this thing pulled in. It was gone. Heather says, oh heavens, she doesn't cuss like me. I said, what is it? She saw best she could describe it was a vapor across the road. It was about the size of a large dog, right? Go ahead.
Did you know Mark and Rebecca Green? You can ask him about this when you have him on there. Mark and somebody else saw a booger plain as day. Becca saw it as fog, as a mist, right there in that one specific spot. Again, that goes into are we different? Is the area different? Are we perceiving things differently?
And what's wild is she didn't see this bright wolf in the headlights with red glowing eyes, which I've never seen that before. And I didn't see the vapor, but the dog was missing. I mean, in the angle it was going, I cut it off. It looked like it was going to cross that gravel road. So I whipped in there. Now all that happened, my heart rate's up about a mile to 3 miles before you get to the Tennessee line headed south. I saw one of the biggest black things I've ever seen in my life. And it looked like it was digging. And the thing was, when it took off, it didn't run, but it was going downhill down a slope, but the back was level. That's not normal. And I was
Yeah.
shook. We're talking 700 to 900 pounds, and I didn't see a tail. I called Spencer. I know it's a few miles away from them, but it's more like a warning because of the wolf and everything. It was headed towards them, but it turned around. Now, my brain was not ready for all of that within just a few miles. And I, I tell this, laughing, but this is the truth. Heather, later that night, we went to the cabin. She said, "Why are the outside lights on?" I said, "'Cause I want them on."
Oh, right.
It made me feel better, and I had stuff there that made me feel better, and I didn't sleep that well that night. So
when you see it for real, when you experience it for real, and you actually go, "Oh my gosh, this shit is real."
yeah,
You, as a grown man, you have a whole different, because you have to have that moment where you're like, everything I thought I understood, I'm missing something here. I'm missing a part of it. I didn't get the whole story, or I never believed in this part of it, and it turns out that's real. And it makes you question a lot. And there's no shame in that. I mean, it makes you go, I don't know what that was, and
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to deal with this, because we weren't brought up to be prepared to deal with it. We didn't know.
yeah. And what Spencer is the rock. He's like, I don't know if I tell everybody you do have a Bigfoot show. Then I get back to camp the next morning, and he comes up and grabs me and said, "I might have accidentally told a couple of people." And then I get,
And I did, but it was close friends. But I was like,
Right.
okay, look, I didn't mean to, but they heard me on the phone with you, and they wanted to know, because we
Right.
all know, oh my gosh, did somebody see one? And I'm like, okay, maybe, but it was Roger, and this is what happened. And then they told other people, and I was like, oh, that kind of got out of hand, and that was my fault. I don't know what
but Debbie, but here's the thing. Debbie Porch met me like Wendell does out of the blue. She come
Yeah.
up to me and was like asking questions, bam, 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 bam. And I was answering them as quick, and I appreciated that, because, the older you get, you need to recount these stories.
It was
What?
Debbie Porch's fault, because she was the one standing behind me when I was talking to you, and I didn't know it. As soon as I hung up, she came up and said, "Who was that and what was it?" And because
Right.
it was Debbie, I told her, and then she interrogated you.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna put the blame on anybody, it's Debbie Porch's fault.
She's standing too close to you. But I welcome, Spencer, Amanda doesn't know me that well as well as you do. And anybody in chat that's been around me,
You're
Billy
lucky.
and all them, I welcome any question, because
That's true.
I'm good at saying I don't know. What shook me up the most, and Spencer knows this, was I kept going back. If I'd have seen an elbow, if I'd have seen a toe, if I'd have seen an ear, all identification markers of certain animals, and it happened so fast, I got stopped. And this thing, I don't know if it's 700 to 900 pounds, but it's beside Heather's truck window it's tinted. And I'm like, roll the window down, and I'm backing up. And I'm like, well, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's like just a few
You're
feet
putting
away.
her in the firing line.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, we got, where the buffalo or the bison
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
There was something huge and black in that field. And I don't think I've ever told many people this. I was like, nope. I just kept driving. I don't know. Don't want to know.
It was a buffalo.
No, it was standing up on two legs. I mean, I'm not
Oh,
saying,
okay.
I'm saying it was odd. Okay. Cause I didn't normally, I would have whipped in there and put the lights on it. But at that point, I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to get back to the cabin, because I was still dealing with, and y'all, I joke a lot, but when things happen, I don't worry about me. It's the people with me I worry about. And it changes situations. Like if Greg and Spencer and I go out, man, we're good. You watch that way, I watch that way, you watch our back, we're good. But when you have people that are not paying attention, you feel responsible for them. And that's why some people don't want you coming to their land to investigate because they don't want to be responsible. I said this last week, for something happening to you. And with y'all, with Spencer's show, he's going to talk to people that most of them have been terrified. You can hear it. They've never told their stories before. And that's what I love about their show is they get into an area that you've never heard of before. Like he said earlier, this holler, that holler.
And if the people, this is so hard to put into words because everybody wants to like point fingers and saying you're keeping secrets and everything. If the people that talk to me, which I'm very honored that they did, if the people that talk to me but will not come out and tell their stuff, and I understand, and I'm not poo-pooing it, I get it, I don't blame you. But if you would hear half of the people that talk to me and they say, okay, but I'm not coming on the show, or please don't put this out there, don't say anything about this. If you would hear half of them, like some of their stuff is so good. So being able to be validated and credible and coming from like extremely credible sources. I'm like, just do the show. And they're like, no, I can't. And I'm like, okay, fine. But it's not like I put pressure on them. I don't try to twist their arm or anything, but man, I have heard some amazing, impressive behind the scenes stuff. And I truly wish that everybody else could have heard, been privy to some of the stuff that I've seen, had told to me, gotten to look at pictures of, videos of, and all that kind of stuff. But if they say don't put it out there, we can't put it out there. I mean, that's just the way that it works.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, I see in chat, there's ads popping up that I didn't change anything. It must be the channel Untold. They may have changed something. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about it. This is the first time I've heard, that we've had that problem. But Greg, we're gonna get into Kumbo's farm trip. So
which one?
I'm probably talking about the Booger Rock.
Oh,
now Booger Rock.
I want to hear stories.
Well, and we laugh at Spencer and stuff, but I've made mistakes where
they all laugh
something always happens when you least expect it. And he told me a long time ago, man, when you before you get out of the vehicle, turn the recorder on.
You're going to start the story that way?
No.
This is how you're going to do it.
No, I'm saying this is probably how you learned. And then you spread the knowledge. Hey, I'm being nice.
No, I learned it before then. We were going to dinner, Roger. We were going to dinner. I didn't know we were getting out of the truck.
Well, you can learn from other people's mistakes. And if I ever go, I'm just not even going to carry a recorder because I don't.
All I can say is if you have a recorder, turn it on before you get out of the vehicle, no matter if you're going to dinner or if you're going somewhere else, no matter what, just have the recorder on the whole time. In fact, if I would have had the recorder on the whole time, we would have caught the conversation where Greg was talking about the skinny pedal. And then I called Mark Green and told him to hit the skinny pedal because Kumbo is driving like it's the Talladega 500. And Mark Green is like 3 stoplights back because he's driving Miss Daisy and Greg's in the middle trying not to get out of sight of Kumbo, but also trying to keep Mark Green caught up. But anyway, that gets beyond the thing. But when we got out of the vehicle at Kumbo's property, prime property, never been to before, we were going to dinner and there was a bunch of us in vehicles. There was probably 15 of us in different vehicles. And Kumbo said, do you want to take a quick tour of the point and part of his property before we go to dinner? And of course, I was. And this is a whole separate story from the Booger Rock, which Misty almost got buried on Kumbo's property because I was going to murder her because Kumbo gave her the Booger Rock. But anyway, Kumbo said, do you want to see the property? And we're driving around, and then he's in the lead vehicle. It stops. The next car stops. Another one stops. That's the one that Greg was driving and I was in. And in my mind, I'm like, what happened? Did they see something? You know, is there something there? Is there something in the road? I don't know what it is. But people are getting out. And as soon as I got out and walked up, because I'm like, what's going on? Kumbo goes, you reckon we ought to let them know we're here? And whoop, you know, does a call like right then with no warning or anything. And God is my witness. Before his call even stopped echoing, something from the woods, probably less than 100 yards away, goes, whoa! I mean, it was just like, it was like, holy crap. And everybody's looking around. And then like 3 or 4 of them looked at me and said, did you record that? And I was like, no. I mean, I didn't know if there was somebody had a flat tire. I didn't know what we were doing.
And he gets the blame because he had all that equipment. Yeah, they make it's, and it's all in fun. Y'all that when he mentioned the Booger Rock or whoever mentioned it, Kumbo has a pile of rocks, and the boogers will throw these rocks out as he's mowing, or he'll find them, he'll clean them up, and then they'll toss them back out there. I'm
sorry.
So I was in chat. Yeah, I was in chat when they were telling this story for the first time. They had just come back, and they didn't know me that well, but I was picturing Spencer. Like they said, Spencer thought Kumbo was about to hand him the rock, and he was reaching for it, and he went past him.
Kumbo was talking to me because he said something. He was on lawnmower when we pulled in there, and he said, I hit another darn booger rock. And he said, I had to stop and get up and put that in the pile. Well, he's got a little pile. I mean, it's a little pile, and these are like medium-sized rocks, about softball size. And I said, no way. And he's like, yeah. He was like, it's right there. He was like, you want to see one? I was like, yeah. And Kumbo walks over to the pile 30 feet away, and Misty is talking to him too, but I was the one talking to him about the booger rock. And he walks over to the pile, and I kind of take a couple steps following him, but then I stop, and he goes over there to the pile and comes back. Misty's about 10 feet behind me, and comes back, and he's got this rock, and he's talking, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, they throw him out here while I'm other. And he walks right past me, and he's holding this thing out. And Misty's standing behind me, and she's like, oh yeah. And she's reaching out, and he hands her the booger rock, and I'm standing about 6 feet away, and I'm like, I'm going to kill her because that was supposed to be mine. And I want to at least see it first. And he gave her the booger rock.
And I was in chat that night, and everybody's laughing about it, and they had just come back from the trip. They're talking about it. So I had this picture in my mind and I typed in my precious, and everybody, it went crazy. They're like, Spencer was like, please. But he finally got his
like 1 month of memes about that on the Facebook page and everything.
Yeah. So, but that's when I knew, like, okay, they're not going to kill me. So that maybe they thought I'm funny, but, and it's been a wild ride. I mean, y'all been doing this how long now?
The show?
Yeah.
The show, 3 years, a little over.
Wow. And I think I started mine a few months later. It wasn't long, maybe a year later. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
And time gets away. But some of the adventures that we've been on is crazy. And we don't get together much. I think a lot of people think you're in Western Virginia. He got on to me. He's not in West Virginia. Misty's in East Tennessee, and Greg's in North Alabama. So we can't get together a lot, but it seems like when y'all do, or we do, something strange happens. The other night, Flat Rock went to the man cave.
Yeah.
And he was telling that we have a call that we do sometimes. late at night, and Flat Rock was there at Greg's, and when they started telling about he went out back to smoke with the porch light off, I was like, oh no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that. And he was shook up. Something growled at him just around the corner. And that's the corner I'm scared of, because it butts up to the woods. And if you're sitting there, it's a eerie feeling because you can get got. And we took a picture the first time I was over there. It's Mark Green and Becca and Flat Rock was there, and Peyton was there, and then and Spencer had issues and couldn't make it. He broke down in the middle of nowhere, and it was a bad trip. And so I'm standing there and I'm at the opening, and I got the creepy feels, like the hair standing up on the. I'm like, y'all hurry up and take his picture. I don't like my back to the woods, but it's and that's a wild place. And I talked to I won't say his name, but somebody that knows Greg real well. We discussed this place for a couple hours one day, and he was talking about the energy. I didn't know that creek that tees off into the bigger river creek, everybody calls them something different, but it's big. He said there's a waterfall back there, and there's a lot
I
of
didn't know that.
there's a waterfall just up that the one that comes in the tee off right there. I didn't either. And he says when he goes there, the energy after a couple of days, he feels better. So I don't know. I know it's got an eerie feel to it. I did pick up on that, but
Greg's place?
to me it does. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so too. But also, then again, at the same time, I know that boogers are there. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he don't tell everything, but they visit quite often. And then Kumbo, he saw one a while back that was grayish, a bigger one. So
that is true.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had people on live that night, and Greg said he's never seen anything paranormal, but we were watching the flashes 150 feet above the river in the fog that shouldn't have been there. And to me, it looked like that little burst of energy when you do the quartz.
The coal fire.
Creepy Mountain in Alabama. Greg was there for that, but at Mark Green's place, we were seeing those flashes over on the other side of the pond, and here, there, up there, 15 yards, up there, 30 yards, over there, 45 yards. But I've never seen that before. I have no idea what that was.
And that goes into the strange things we talk about. Now, could it be normal? We say normal paranormal. It could be something in the ground and the flow of the water. I've heard stories where scientists have found sulfur in the water, lithium in the dirt, and it creates a natural battery type situation under certain conditions. So yeah, I don't think everything's a ghost or everything's not normal, but we just don't know.
But like whenever people talk about like ball lightning or St. Elmo's fire or firefox glowing in the wood, you'll see it in one spot or the other. You don't see it here, then there, then here, then there, then there. It's maybe there's a natural explanation for it that we're overlooking. I don't know. I just know creepy areas, whenever you start seeing creepy things in creepy spots that are known for creepy things happening in those creepy spots, it's probably something creepy and you should be paying attention to it.
Right. It's not
like it's known as creepy for nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, there's a lot of people that do, and that's why we have discussion. That's why we look for guests. I started doing the show. I was kind of like down the middle, like how can we all be a little bit right? And it worked out a little bit because, how, 5 years ago, you couldn't get the people on this side and the people on this side together in the same chat.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
Yeah.
And because we listen without judgment. What the main thing that's come out of that, because of the listening without judgment, I've actually learned some stuff.
I know.
So, and we're gonna have Mark Green on next week, and Mark, is a very religious man, and I struggled with talking about some of these subjects early on. And I called Spencer one day. And I'm like, man, I just saw something. And I don't know if because we're talking about this stuff, are we manifesting things? I saw the black figure with dog ears, and I was like, I'm not going to be afraid of you. And I kind of like, get in my mind, and all of a sudden I got hit. My stomach kind of flipped over, and I got sick to my stomach, and I had this weird feeling. And then the head changed shapes. It just kind of went, and I jumped in that work van and I hit the road. 15 minutes later, I'm calling Spencer. I said, oh my God, do we need to quit talking about this?
As people, it's only normal for us to try and put stuff in a box. At least that's my opinion of it. We try to rationalize it. We try to make sense of it and put it in a box. And I just worry that maybe we are trying to put 2 different things or 4 or 5 different things in the same box. We're trying to pound that square peg through a round hole and make it fit. And, the round peg will go through, but the square peg won't. We keep going at it. And I just worry that we're confusing different things. In my mind, it comes down to, if you believe in souls, if you believe in God, if you believe in souls, if you believe in ghosts, if you believe in boogers, if you believe in dogmen, you believe in aliens, if you believe in any of those, as soon as you open the door to that, you're opening the door to a world that we don't understand how it really works. I mean, you're opening yourself to, here's something that I believe in, but I'm not quite sure how it's doing what it's doing. As soon as you do that, there's all bets are off. You don't know what you're dealing with. Anything is possible. And one of the things I really dislike is the lack of communication and the lack of understanding, the lack of empathy in the Bigfoot world. Because if you're in the Bigfoot world, you're in the Bigfoot world. And then you have people over here going, oh, they're flesh and blood. And you have people down here going, no, 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 they're completely spiritual. You have people trying to meet in the middle going, hey, maybe they're flesh and blood, but they have some mystical, magical things to them. And everybody is at each other's throats. Nobody is sharing information. Nobody is listening to very few people are listening to other people. And it's the difference between listening to what somebody says and actually thinking about what somebody else says.
Yeah.
And you can hear somebody, but are you just listening to them or are you hearing them? And we really have to do better. We've not come very far in 60, 70 years of like a lot of people looking into the subject. We have not made much progress. And I think the reason we have not made much progress is because everybody takes a side. Everybody goes, I'm on this team or I'm on that team. And I'm not listening to these other people, or that's crazy. What they're talking about is crazy. And I know the real truth and they don't. Mm-hmm. And if we could get over that and get over ourselves and start comparing notes and having an open mind, I think we would come further. And there are people in this field that are doing really, really impressive stuff and trying new techniques and everything. Mm-hmm. And kudos to them. I'm not smart enough to think of this stuff, but at least some of them are my friends, so they tell me about what they're doing, and they are trying new stuff, innovative stuff, impressive stuff. And one more thing on that point. Sorry, Roger, not to go off on a tangent. But
no, keep going. You're
please,
preaching good.
I really don't like people feeling like they can't talk about their experiences because they didn't have that Class A encounter. I really don't like overlooking people that are like, man, I talk to people all the time that are like, I didn't see anything, but I heard this. I got this really creepy feeling. I had dreams later on that night about this, and also like my next door neighbor's dog went missing. I like talking to those kind of people because they are putting in the tiny little bit of information, like a cop investigating like a break-in over here. Well, something that happened at this house 1 month earlier might pertain to that situation, but you don't know it if you just overlook them because it happened 1 month earlier and it's not the same house.
Well, you see,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of people investigating on TV, and what always burned me up was like, I don't understand why a Bigfoot would cross right here because it doesn't make sense. Spencer, Amanda, everybody in chat that had any kind of animals knows that different pressures make people and animals do things that they normally don't do. So if it crossed here, go over there in that neighborhood and see which guy shot at it, or which was it stealing chickens? Is there a police report from that night? Follow up.
Thermals
Yes.
from the time of day. Was there a prey animal that went right there? Did this dude have 20 bunnies that got out of the pen and they all ran across right there, and this thing was following the scent of them? I'm just saying a lot of it is connected, and we're so arrogant and conceited that we think we know what's going on, and we overlook a lot of the other information and a lot of the clues because of our own ego.
Right. I agree. It just
couldn't have said it better myself.
And I'm not. I come into this as I tell people all the time. They probably get tired of hearing me saying it. I started my show to learn because I figured out, well, if I have a show, I may not have any guests, but if I do get one, I can ask the questions. I've been where Amanda is. Amanda's probably got 100 questions, and I'm running my mouth. But so we need a signal. But I got
whoever has the rock has to make a talk.
But it's been pretty wild how this all has come about, the friendships we've made. Spencer said earlier, you don't always need to talk about Bigfoot, and that's what we do. Y'all in chat, find you some people to talk about other things that helps, and then share with your friends. And it's hard. Now that's an easy thing to say, but it is very hard to find a group to share with. And I may say something stupid and Spencer will laugh at me, but it gives Misty or Greg an idea. I'm not above throwing stupid stuff out there, but sometimes you have an incident happen, or you talk to a guest, or they have certain encounters, they have certain beliefs, and you're like, whoa, my mind's a little blown after that interview. Hey, y'all, what do y'all think about this?
So something that you're saying right there, if you get into this subject, if you're watching YouTube videos because you're trying to learn about Bigfoot and your hope is to get into a group of people that know something about it, and they're going to take you out and they're going to help you find Bigfoot. If you've never experienced anything about it, I would say this: you're doing it the wrong way. Get in here because it's a group of people that you could make a friend with, and be happy that you made a friend, and you and that friend go out and look for boogers. You don't have to be with people that sound like they know what they're talking about. And it's not all about Bigfoot. The best thing that I've ever experienced from the Bigfoot thing is the people that I've met. I've experienced other stuff that probably maybe could have been, maybe not, was boogers. Best thing I've gotten from all of this is the people that I've met. I've met friends that I consider family. And if you get nothing else but that from this, it's still a win-win. I promise you on that part.
Yep. And a lot of, I got a question for Amanda. So what's a percentage of the people that share stories with you that they were out actively looking for Bigfoot or they accidentally ran into Bigfoot? What?
Oh, gracious. It's got to be at least probably 90%, if not even more, of people who are not
Mhm.
Right.
actively looking for Bigfoot or anything else, that any other boogers out there, and something happened to them as compared to people. I don't know if I've actually talked to anybody who was actively looking for one and had something happen. Not that I
Well,
could think of off the top of my head,
You,
anyhow.
well,
you,
I probably
you,
have, but
you ain't been talking to the right people, man.
yeah.
yeah.
But you see, but her environment she's in, people are
Yeah.
coming to her. They don't know where else to go. They probably don't know these little shows exist. They don't know about the meet and greets. They don't know about the conferences.
Or they probably don't care. They don't care about being part of a
Right.
community of people. You know, if you were out just going for a hike and you actually saw a booger and you had no idea that was real, you would be thinking it's a monster. I don't know what you would either be confused or terrified, most likely. And you probably wouldn't want to talk about it. You probably definitely wouldn't want to go see it again. And, you know, they're looking, like you said, they're looking for some kind of confidant, just some kind of person to talk about it. And then they want to verify, validate that they're not insane. And then they want to go back to their normal life. And
Right.
then you have us idiots actually looking for it. And we have YouTube shows where we're trying to tell everybody, no, this stuff is real.
And and then it's like you can go to certain places. Most of the people that come watch our shows are pretty good, but do not go to Reddit and talk about Bigfoot. They will absolutely tear you down. But it don't matter. You can talk about Bigfoot or say I like Ford cars or I like sushi, and you're going to get torn apart. They don't care. They're just vicious.
It's the internet. That's what the internet does.
Yeah, that's where they all settled. That's the low spot.
Yes, he's right. Reddit is horrible.
Don't go looking for information. That's for sure. And I used to make me mad, but it's kind of funny now. Like
they're good about stock options.
Yeah,
If you're trying to invest, they're good. But
yeah,
don't say anything about boogers.
Oh, they even tear each other apart over that stuff. GME, baby. was GameStop. All of them. A lot of them held on too long. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that started that whole thing. Yeah.
So anyway, it changed. I don't know if the word's impressive, but the wild part is how an encounter changes people's lives. And I know you've talked to a lot of people that it changes how you think about things, or it makes you not know what to think. And I think that's why a lot of people gather together. And we're starting to find out, the more questions you ask to the people in chat, and you meet them, we have a lot of things in common that we wouldn't have thought, without asking those questions. So, oh me. Well, Spencer, it's been almost 2 hours. I know we don't have Coonbo and Greg on here, so you probably it's almost 10 o'clock at your place. So
don't you start.
Huh?
Don't see
what?
Roger.
Uh-oh, you're in trouble now. What'd you do?
No, he's going to say it's 10 o'clock. It's past my bedtime.
No, I was not. See,
yes,
that's
you
Misty's
were.
job. Where's Spencer? Oh, he's in bed. But anyway, I appreciate you. I know you don't come on many shows, and I appreciate you coming on. And I always like your, whether you believe it or not, I like your assessment of things, and you're actually kind of smart, which is,
No.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
You're definitely very knowledgeable, or at least especially as far as the outdoors and stuff like that goes. So having that, I know that feeling.
And
having somebody who's knowledgeable of the outdoors, and then getting into this not necessarily because of an experience, but just from a general interest in it, and then that evolving into experiences, that's definitely a unique mindset to have. in
And
this world
Probably.
for sure.
And speaking of that, y'all that came in late, we did do a tribute to Dr. Meldrum, and that's kind of what he did, and that's why he was valuable, because he didn't see one or whatever. He started in analyzing evidence, and that's what Spencer has had encounters and stuff. And people, like you said, oh well, I don't want to tell my story because it wasn't a scary class A. Well,
Tell it anyhow.
all of them are important. Everything is important. Tell somebody, write it down so you remember it, and then 10 years from now, tell us.
Well, for my show, for Squatchin Holler, for anybody that we are associated with, I would say any kind of encounter that you've had, don't care how impressive it was, you're part of the collective whole. We're all in this together. We're all looking for the answers. And I mean, maybe we're not the greatest people to tell it to you, because we're not going to come up with the answers. But you should reach out to us, to one of us, to somebody that we know, somebody we're associated with, because at least we are trying to understand the subject. We're not coming at it from a point of view of we know the answers to the subject and we just want to have you on to have a show that gets a bunch of views and everything. Most of the people that I know, Roger and Amanda, definitely some of the group that I'm talking about, we want to actively hear what you've experienced. So please don't hesitate on that end of it. And for everybody out there that actually thinks that they have all the answers on this kind of stuff, hey, I'm willing to be proven wrong. Come show me, and let me see what you got. I want to hear from everybody. I'm not trying to prove everybody wrong. I want to hear from everybody.
And what we have to remember also, people are so critical, or used to be. They're not quite as critical anymore. But coming from the sheriff's department, and I was being groomed to be a deputy or hopefully a detective one day. It didn't work out. You have to be a special person to do that job. But sitting in the interrogation rooms and watching and listening to folks, and watching the guys do their reports, and having 4 witnesses to the same thing, and they all have different accounts of it, similar, so be easy on somebody, y'all. If somebody saw a Bigfoot, it's probably terrified them to the core. If they come out and tell their story, be easy on them. I mean, don't, if they and maybe they get it out of order or whatever, it's a terrifying thing. So just listen to them.
Misty's over there quoting Nail right now in the comments.
What's bad is I understand Misty's accent, because most people, older people here in these hills, talk like East Tennessee back in the day. So I know North Georgia probably has some great accents.
Oh yeah.
Roger, thanks for having me on. I'm sorry,
Yes, sir.
man, if we got off track.
No, no. That's the thing. This, Amanda knows this. Most people that know us, we can't get on the porch around the fire and talk. This is our version of it, and anything goes. We're regular people, and we just want answers. And if you have answers, I like seeing the chat. Some people have some really good good thoughts or whatever, and I'll kind of jot them down, and I'll be Googling later. So. We love everybody. I really needed this after this week, and today, and I've had a personal. I lost my favorite aunt last weekend, and then I thought, well, this week will be better, and then so here we go. But thank y'all for being here, because without y'all, we couldn't do this. I think we would still be gathering and talking about it somewhere, but I enjoy everybody. So. Yep. Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, thank you, boys. It was good to finally meet you, even if it was through cyberspace here, Spencer. Hopefully I can get to meet you in person one day.
Oh, yep. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll do another meet and greet here soon.
All right, y'all. Cool. Next week, Mark Green's going to be on with us. You don't want to miss that at all.
Yeah, Mark's I'm excited for that one too.
Probably one of the best people I've ever met, I would think.
Absolutely.
and y'all probably have seen him. The ones that don't know, seen him on Flash of Beauty, and he lives close to Creepy Mountain, and that came from finding Bigfoot, and that's a funny story. We'll let him tell that. But
Yep.
anyway, y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Good night, y'all.